Talking about punishments. Have you guys heard about this? This is pretty fucking crazy and pretty weird. It makes no sense, really. So this is courtesy of this Dutch paper called 3 voor 12. And this is translated from Dutch as well. So please forgive me for the mispronunciations of my part and the fucking horrible translation on Google's part. The image actually, weirdly enough, the image actually features Arm and Trix playing a night at the Loft, which is fucking sick. And there's Jimmy Jules behind him as well. And I think this girl in the purple is actually in Innovision too, if I'm not mistaken. So it's funny that this is the clip, or this is the picture they used, because I was talking about Innovision 20th anniversary earlier that I fucking wish I could go to, but fuck. Anyway, so let's continue. It says, artists cancelled the Loft after Israeli flag controversy. Life and Death, Ogazon, Eris, Octa, among others are cancelled. And it says here, the blurb, several artists have cancelled their ADE performance at the Loft after unrest rose over the supposed Zionist party that previously took place at the venue. The event was called We Will Dance Again, a reference to the Nova Music Festival, where hundreds of young people were murdered or kidnapped during the October 7th, 2023 attacks. Israeli flags were waved during the party. The Loft disputes the story that it was a Zionist party, but it states that it was partly organized by Jewish sports club Maccabi Netherlands. Okay, I didn't know there's a Maccabi Netherlands. I know there's a Maccabi Haifa. They were a pretty decent European side back in the day, but I don't know where they are now. According to its website, Maccabi Netherlands is a foundation that aims to strengthen Jewish identity and community and sports education. Jesus Christ, they don't stop with that shit, innit? God damn, everywhere. Maccabi also organized a We Will Dance Again event in 2024 in Amsterdam. According to the Loft, it was a private event in which they had no involvement whatsoever in the content organization. The Loft says it understands the concerns and it's tightened its internal processes after the party was in question, with the aim of completely avoiding any potential controversy from now on. About 95% of the Loft's events are commercial rentals, ranging from weddings to corporate events. The event in question took place in March. The Loft was subsequently unhappy with the Israeli flags being waved on the dance floor, but decided to proceed with the second event in May, booked concurrently with the first, provided the flags were omitted. Unfortunately, in the current context, almost everything surrounding this conflict is quickly considered political, which makes it even more complicated. We also are concerned about the distribution of the video showing Israeli flags without any context, because these images are shared and detached from reality. A separate narrative is created that doesn't correspond with what actually happened. Maccabi spokesperson told Het Parool, many Jews are deeply troubled by what's happening and the current regime, but we have no influence on that. Waving an Israeli flag doesn't mean supporting a particular political regime. It's love for Israel. However, the Lost program currently has few gaps, including Life and Death crew on Thursday, Octa back to Isabella, Ogazon on Saturday morning, and ticket buys were received. So Ogazon, Eris, Octa, and few others cancelled their parties there because of this event. So all these people cancelled their gigs that are meant to play at ADE at the Loft because of this event that went viral on social media. So I don't know, I think there's a bit of virtue signaling going there from Ogazon, from Octa, Eris, because what does the fact that a venue that gets hired out by people individually to do whatever they want in there, what the fuck does a venue being available for private hire have to do with the people behind the venue's thoughts and feelings around what's going on currently in Palestine and the conflict between Palestine and Israel? And obviously the genocide that's going on there, and we're going to be screaming free Palestine until Palestine is actually free. But what does this have to do with anything? Like, that's clearly a form of virtue signaling, in my opinion, because you don't even know what this party is about, right? You don't know the function behind it, the motives behind it. I just think this kind of dangerous territory we're getting in, where essentially anybody that claims to be or purports to be Israeli is kind of getting demonized and kind of getting judged and kind of getting categorized under the same category as somebody that's an ardent fan of Benjamin Netanyahu, somebody that's a staunch defender of the IDF. Is fucking preposterous, right? Unless you come out and say that you're for the continued the war in Palestine, unless you come out and say that you don't want Palestine to be free, unless you come out and say you loved serving in the Israeli Defense Force or whatever else it may be, then I'm not going to stand there and believe and just say just because you're from Israel that you must be evil, that you must be some sort of heretic, that you must be some sort of psycho, that you must be some sort of fanatic, that you must be some sort of blood-hungry, child-killing fucking soldier person. No. I'm going to take you by what you say. And if you say or act in a way that would make me believe that you are that person, I'm going to believe it. But if you happen to be at a party somewhere waving tiny Israeli flags and jumping up and down, listening to your music from your country, I'm not going to necessarily think that this is an affront to me. I'm not going to necessarily think this is an affront to the Palestinian people. It could just be you being patriotic. You know, it's not necessarily for me, but I don't need to be offended by it. And I just find it odd that these DJs are now, like, I don't know, like, what's that gonna do? Cancelling your gig at ADE to play at the Loft. It's not even that they're cancelling a rave. They're cancelling, like, the venue. They're saying, yeah, I'm cancelling the venue. Like, the venue is on timeout. Because I'd actually respect more, because if I'm not mistaken, the Loft is actually owned by Supercut, right? If I'm not mistaken, KKKR, that investment group, whatever, that's behind Boiler Room. I think that's what I read somewhere, that the Loft is actually owned by those guys. So I would respect way more if the people that were actually trying to protest, trying to boycott all these things, decided to boycott the Loft because of who they're owned by, and not wanting to kind of, you know, indirectly fund any kind of war efforts against the Palestinians in that regard. But the fact that they are cancelling this venue because the venue put on a party is preposterous. It's preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous. And I think the people that are cancelling it are using it as opportunity to kind of virtue signal, to kind of get on their fucking high horse and to morally posture amongst other DJs and make it seem like they're way more enlightened, they're way more aware of what's going on and shit. And I don't know. I don't know about all that sort of stuff. Again, it's some dangerous territory if we start to categorize every single person that happens to be from Israel as a ardent Zionist, as a strong believer in the Jewish state and all this malarkey and like all these toxic things, all these hurtful things, all these things that are kind of, you know, maybe not the greatest to kind of go and speak about at the top of your lungs. I'm going to wait for that person to admit it. You know, I'm going to wait for that person to demonstrate it, as opposed to just demonizing them because they happen to have that particular flag on their bio or something. It's not that deep. Really isn't that fucking deep. Don't get me wrong. I've not met many Israeli people who are not kind of pro-Israel and not anti-Palestine. Don't get me wrong. In my lifetime, I've not met too many, but I'm sure they exist. I'm sure it's not like a monolith in that regard, right? I'm not sure it's not a monolith, but again, I could be mistaken. But I think all of this is fucking bizarre, fucking annoying, and I can't wait till this stuff is over. That's why I'm really on the ceasefire, mostly obviously for the Palestinian people, because they have suffered enough. They have suffered too much, actually. But I'm also kind of eager and willing and hoping that there comes an end to this ongoing war, this ongoing genocide, so that we have enough of these constant conversations, enough of these constant kind of cancelling efforts, because they feel like they're all kind of like done. I feel like some of them are done in like a mean-spirited way. I feel like a lot of it is kind of done in a way to kind of get people out of here that you don't necessarily liked before, and now you've got a reason to kind of get them the fuck out of here. I feel like they've also done without the sense of people actually learning and coming back from it. It's kind of done in a way of like, hey, let's get you out of here and then you can never play again. You kind of lose your right or privileges to DJ because you happen to be from where you're from. I think that's fucking preposterous. And I just think in general, people are weaponizing and making this a part of their identity when number one, a lot of them haven't even been there, don't even know anyone from from fucking Palestine. Maybe aren't the most tolerant people when it comes to Islam themselves, but here they are, talking what they're talking. So yeah, I just can't wait for it to be over so everyone can kind of move on to living their actual lives. But I guess, you can't blame some people for having a cause, fighting for it, being really much about it and stuff. But I just want us to get to a place where we can kind of live and let live. Most likely it's not going to happen anytime soon. But one can only hope. One can only hope.